I left a powder compact in my boyfriend's car. A simple oversight. But the next day when I opened it, intending to touch up my makeup, I saw it. A small line scrawled inside with what looked like an eyebrow pencil. The message was stark. He is cheating. The writing was fresh. So fresh it sent a jolt of ice through my veins, my heart suddenly pounding against my ribs. Who was trying to warn me? Was it possible? Was the man I loved, the center of my world, really betraying me? Liam and I had known each other for 5 years, been in love for 3, and as of today, had lived together for exactly 320 days. This period had been, without question, the happiest time of my life. Waking up each morning, even just hearing the familiar sounds of him moving around our apartment, filled me with a quiet, contented sweetness. But that fragile happiness shattered the moment I saw those words etched onto the pressed powder. A part of me desperately wanted to dismiss it as a cruel prank, some kind of twisted joke. But that insistent female intuition, that gut feeling was screaming at me, forcing me to confront a potentially devastating reality. He never lent his car to anyone, ever. And he was fiercely protective about who sat in the passenger seat, a place implicitly reserved for me. The compact had fallen into a narrow gap in the passenger side storage compartment. Such a specific, almost hidden spot. Besides a deliberate warning left by someone with intent, I couldn't fathom any other explanation. Tough day. His voice, warm and familiar, came from behind me. I snapped back to the present, turning to see Liam approaching with a basin of steaming water. Just work stuff, I managed forcing. A smile that I knew must look brittle and unconvincing. He reached out, gently touching my forehead as if checking for a fever. You always do this, he murmured softly, keeping everything bottled up inside. Liam gently guided me to sit on the sofa, then knelt before me, carefully removing my socks and rolling up my pant legs. The water in the basin was perfectly warm. He eased my feet in, the heat rising to envelop my ankles, the steam swirling softly in the quiet room. He looked up at me, his eyes seeming moist and devoted, like a large, affectionate puppy's. This tender care had been a constant for over 300 days. So constant I'd almost started to take it for granted. But people change. Late that night, Liam slept soundly beside me, his back turned to me. Sleep, however, eluded me completely. His phone lay on the bedside table, a silent sentinel in the darkness, seeming to hold countless secrets I wasn't privy to. The temptation was unbearable. I yielded. His messaging apps, call logs, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But as I swiped through his home screens, my finger accidentally tapped the weather app. It had 3 locations saved. Besides S City where we lived and H City where he often traveled for business, there was a third, X City. I'd never heard Liam mention X City. I didn't even know where it was. Yet, the app listed it first, prioritized above our home city. Clearly, he checked the weather there frequently. A wave of cold dread washed over me, so intense I felt nauseous. Suppressing the urge to vomit, I navigated to his screen time usage. His Weibo account, dormant for years according to him, showed the highest activity. Opening the app, I found the chat history wiped clean. His following list contained only 5 accounts. I clicked through them one by one, my finger finally hovering over a specific profile picture. Clara Meng. I recognized the name, the face. She was Liam's high school sweetheart, the epic first love story he'd shared with me. They grew up together, childhood friends from the same small town. He told me, with what seemed like heartbreaking sincerity, that their relationship ended when she went abroad to study. He'd sworn I was only the second woman he'd ever truly loved, and I would be the last. I had believed him. Who could have imagined he was so adept at maximizing his resources, juggling his only 2 women, circling back to his first love? The answers were right there, just a tap away on the screen. But just as I was about to click on Clara's profile, Liam shifted beside me in his sleep. He murmured something incoherent and reached out, his arm draping over my waist, his hand automatically starting to massage my calf. Cramp again, he mumbled drowsily. I whipped my head around. His face was peaceful in sleep, a soft snore escaping his lips. He hadn't woken up, the movement was pure habit. I often woke up with leg cramps in the middle of the night, and he would always instinctively reach over to soothe the muscle. A heavy ache settled in my chest. I lay there, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against my back. With each beat, a memory surfaced, a shared laugh, a quiet moment, a promise made. Until his phone screen timed out, plunging the room back into complete darkness. And in that sudden blackness, I knew my courage had vanished too. I couldn't bring myself to look at Clara's account. Carefully, I placed the phone back on the nightstand. The next morning I woke early and made breakfast. I wanted to give him a chance to offer a plausible, dignified explanation for whatever was going on, for the sake of our 3 years together. At the breakfast table, Liam kept his head down, seemingly sensing my heavy mood. He spoke first. "Do you remember Clara? She got married." My hand trembled as I reached for my glass. Hot milk sloshed over the side, and the glass slipped from my grasp, shattering on the floor. "Last Wednesday," he continued quickly, his voice low, "I went to her wedding. I also lent the car to some old classmates who went too. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. We knew each other for so long. I felt I should go pay my respects, but I was afraid you'd misunderstand, overthink things." I knelt to pick up the broken shards. Liam came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist, resting his chin gently on my shoulder. His touch was both tender and apologetic. "Is this why you've been upset?" So that was it. Seemed plausible. It explained the weather app, the Weibo activity, perhaps even the note if a spiteful classmate had access to the car. Hearing his explanation, the tears I'd held back all night finally broke free. I turned and clung to him tightly, terrified he might somehow vanish. "You scared me half to death." I thought. "Thought what?" Liam chuckled softly, stroking my hair, holding me close, comforting me. A wave of guilt washed over me for my dark suspicions. How could I forget? In this sprawling, often lonely city, Liam was my anchor, the only person who truly understood and accepted my quirks, my difficult family background, the man whose soul seemed perfectly aligned with mine. He took a half day off work, staying home to eat lunch with me, making sure I felt reassured before he left. "I'll be back in 3 days after this business trip," he said, kissing my forehead. "Don't miss me too much." I nodded vigorously, pushing the lingering shadows of doubt away, determined to believe. After Liam left, I composed myself and went downstairs to buy groceries. While scanning the payment code at the checkout, a notification popped up on my phone. An MMS message from an unknown number. In this age of instant messaging, MMS was archaic. My first thought was a scam or spam, but when I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was a wedding photograph. The smiling, blissful couple featured prominently, Liam and Clara. I stood frozen in the bustling marketplace, unable to speak, unable to breathe. "It's just a photoshopped image," my mind screamed. Easy to fake. Compared to Liam's earnest explanation, his reassurances, why should I believe this malicious picture? But who kept playing these cruel games with me? I repeatedly dialed the number that sent the MMS. Each time the line was busy, that cold, impersonal tone. The sender hadn't turned off their phone, they were simply rejecting the calls. A terrifying thought gripped me. What if they were nearby, watching me, enjoying my panic, my confusion like some twisted form of entertainment? I fled back home, heart pounding, fumbling with the lock before slamming the door shut. It took a long time for my trembling to subside. Finally, I forced myself to look at the wedding photo again. Even if it was fake, the visceral possibility of Liam looking so happy with another woman, captured in such intimate detail, made my chest ache. Then a small detail caught my eye. It wasn't an original image. Tucked away in the corner was a faint, clear watermark logo. X-City Evergreen Photography Studio. My fingers flew across my phone screen, searching for the studio online. It was a wedding photography company. Their website was basic, clearly aimed at attracting local clients, featuring short highlight reels from recent weddings. Each video clip was titled with the bride and groom's names and the wedding date. With trembling hands and a prayer in my heart, I scrolled through them, desperately hoping not to find Liam's name. But the worst-case scenario materialized. Last Wednesday, the exact date Liam had told me Clara got married. Clara did get married. And in the wedding video, the groom beaming beside her was unmistakably Liam. Photos and videos can be faked. But why Clara? Why X-City? Why the exact date Liam had mentioned? The sheer weight of the coincidences crushed my denial. Clinging to a final, desperate shred of hope, I found the studio's contact number and added them on a messaging app. Posing as a prospective bride planning a wedding. In X-City, I sent them the video clip of Liam and Clara's wedding. I asked about their rates, inquiring if they could achieve a similar result for my own wedding. The reply came quickly. The final edits for last Wednesday's wedding aren't quite finished yet. Photos and video are still in post-production. That couple specifically requested shooting at their old middle school where they met. Do you have any particular locations in mind for your shoot? I couldn't even process the rest of the message. The studio's casual confirmation was the final nail in the coffin. Liam and Clara's wedding was real. Childhood sweethearts, met in middle school, dated through university, now finally married. The world tilted. I felt utterly foolish, completely lost. If their story was the real one, then what was I? 1,000 questions swirled in my head, grief and disbelief battling for dominance. I sank to the floor numb. My phone screen stayed open on the dialer page. I had to call Liam. Demand answers. But just as my finger hovered over the call button, another message arrived from that same unknown number. It was short, sharp, and devastating. Want the truth? Don't ask Liam. Ask his wife. Below it was Clara's phone number. Contact Clara? Why should I? My entire being recoiled from the woman who had, knowingly or unknowingly, stolen Liam. If Clara knew about me, meeting her would inevitably lead to the humiliating wife confronts mistress spectacle. Because of that text, I hesitated. I couldn't call Liam. I couldn't bring myself to call Clara. Liam's messages continued to pop up on WeChat, full of mundane affection and inquiries about my day, and I had no idea how to respond. My carefully constructed life, which began crumbling with those words on the powder compact, was now in ruins. As I sat there, paralyzed by indecision and pain, my phone rang again. My heart leaped into my throat as I saw the caller ID. It was Clara. She was calling me. Clara didn't say much on the phone, but the fact that she had my number, that she was calling me, meant she knew. She knew Liam was living with me. She gave me an address suggesting we meet. Her voice was eerily calm, almost detached. I meticulously applied my makeup, driven by a primal instinct to appear composed, put together. It was a subconscious act of female competition. I refused to appear defeated in front of Clara, even though she was most likely Liam's wife. In the taxi on the way there, images flashed through my mind, lurid tabloid stories of other women being publicly shamed, clothes torn, insults hurled. Would that be me? I half expected Clara to have brought her entire family, waiting to ambush me at the coffee shop. But even that fear couldn't outweigh my desperate need for the truth. Clara had chosen a coffee shop directly opposite the city's second hospital. The location felt significant, ominous. As she walked towards my table, the reason became clear. She was alone. And she was visibly pregnant, her gait slightly awkward, her belly round beneath her coat. She wore no makeup, her face pale and showing traces of fatigue. In contrast, my carefully applied full face of makeup suddenly felt garish and absurd. Clara placed a folder of medical documents on the table before easing herself into the chair opposite me. I had a checkup today, she explained calmly, her tone suggesting a strange familiarity. Meeting nearby was just more convenient. It felt surreal. The expected dramatic confrontation between wife and mistress seemed to have skipped straight to the accepting reality and discussing solutions phase. But Clara and I had never met before, had we? After a long, heavy silence, I finally spoke. Did you really marry Liam? A flicker of emotion finally disturbed the placid surface of Clara's eyes. And are you really still dating Liam? Neither question truly needed asking. A woman's intuition is a powerful thing. The moment I saw Clara, pregnant and weary but resolute, I knew. I hadn't just been cheated on. I'd been the other woman without even knowing it. Clara and we had both been shamelessly deceived by Liam. Clara pulled a document from her folder. An admission form from her first hospital stay. Liam's signature was clearly visible in the family member section. She gently rested a hand on her swollen abdomen, her voice devoid of inflection. What do you plan to do? Did I even have a choice? Before knowing about Clara, I was the wronged party, the victim of deceit. But continuing the relationship knowing Liam had a wife, a pregnant wife, that would make me the shameless homewrecker. Logically, I knew Liam was scum. The relationship had to end immediately. But emotions aren't logical. They don't have an off switch. The more I tried to sever the connection, the more intensely my heart ached. Every shared memory with Liam transformed into a razor-sharp blade, slicing away at my resolve. I desperately wished it was all a nightmare, that I would wake up and find my boyfriend, the one supposedly away on a business trip, still belonged solely to me. Not to another woman as her husband, the father of her child. I stumbled out of the coffee shop in a daze, moving like a zombie. A sharp horn blared, blinding headlights flashed. I had wandered into the middle of the road against a red light. I collapsed onto the asphalt. Looking up, I saw a car stop barely 3 steps away from me. It had nearly hit me. The driver, a young man, rushed out, helping me to the curb. "Are you okay? Should we go to the hospital?" I just shook my head, unable to look up, tears streaming down my face. Seeing my distress, he hesitated, unsure what to say. Since I repeatedly refused medical attention, he reluctantly asked for my WeChat contact. "Just in case," he said awkwardly. "If anything feels wrong later, please let me know." Perhaps sensing the despair radiating from me, he added before leaving, "Hey, don't do anything drastic, okay? Life is long. Life might be long, but my life with Liam was definitively over." I returned to the apartment I had shared with Liam. The silence was oppressive. I didn't even turn on the lights, just stood motionless in the darkness. This place was saturated with our memories. 5 years of knowing him, 3 years of loving him. But cross-referencing timelines with Clara revealed the horrifying truth. Liam and Clara had never truly broken up since their school days. Their relationship had simply shifted to a long-distance, weekends-only arrangement due to work. For 3 years, every single moment I thought was exclusively mine with Liam had been stolen time that rightfully belonged to Clara. The realization filled me with a violent urge to smash everything in the apartment, to shatter the physical remnants of our life just as he had shattered my trust, ripping off his deceptive mask. Suddenly my phone screen lit up. A video call request from Liam. I took a deep breath and answered, switching it to voice only. "You haven't replied all day." Liam's voice sounded frustratingly normal, laced with playful concern. "Where did you run off to while I was away? Don't you want to see my handsome face?" Just hearing his voice, so unchanged, so familiar, weakened my resolve. I couldn't imagine how much worse it would be if I actually saw him. I struggled to keep my breathing even. "I had a dream," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I dreamed you got married." Liam didn't grasp the gravity yet. He chuckled softly. "Oh yeah? Did you look beautiful in your wedding dress in the dream?" "The wedding photos were taken at your old middle school," I continued, my voice gaining a brittle edge. "Your classmates were there. Little fatty brother Zhao, the ones I met before. And I dreamed you had a child." At the mention of a child, Liam fell silent. My own sobs finally broke free. I'd always been resistant to the idea of marriage and children, but Liam had desperately wanted both. And in that moment, confirming Clara's pregnancy, a bizarre part of me felt a sliver of happiness for him, for achieving that normal life milestone he could never have had with me. Liam finally spoke, his voice strained. "Clara and we only got married because of the baby. It was necessary. But Maya, I live with you every day. You must know, you must feel it. My feelings for you are real." Real. The word sounded obscene. "And Clara," I choked out. "I tried breaking up with her many times, but she wouldn't agree. Right now, I just want her to deliver the baby safely. We can talk about everything else after that. I'll explain everything when I get back. Please, don't run off, don't overthink things, don't hide from me. Okay?" In all the time we'd been together, Liam had never used such a pleading tone. He was reciting the classic cheater's script, yet my heart wavered dangerously. Almost understood, terrifyingly, why so many other women clung to the belief that their love was the true one. Being deceived and then choosing self-deception. It's the easiest, most foolish path in the world. During that agonizing day of waiting for his return, the question tormenting me wasn't about his betrayal or the pain he'd inflicted. It was horrifyingly simpler. If he could somehow divorce Clara, would I still be willing to take him back? On the evening of the 3rd day, Liam came home. I looked at his pale, tired face, steeling myself, waiting for the sincere apology, hoping for some faint glimmer of possibility for our future. But his first words hit me like a physical blow. "Clara's missing. Did you go see her?" Clara was missing, and he suspected me. I stared at Liam's cold, suspicious expression, feeling as though I was seeing the real him for the very first time. Without thinking, I slapped him hard across the face. The dam of my pent-up fury burst. I screamed obscenities, kicking and hitting him like a cornered animal. "You think I retaliated against your precious wife? Hit her somewhere? How dare you even ask me that?" Liam grabbed my arms tightly, pinning me, staring intently into my eyes, searching for something. You saw her already, didn't you? I found messages on Clara's phone. You met last Friday. Last Wednesday was their wedding. He thought I met Clara 2 days later? Impossible. I shoved him away, grabbed the nearest object, water glass, and threw it at him. Go ahead. Call the police. Let them investigate. I didn't see your wife last week. Now get out. I refused to even look at whatever evidence he claimed to have. But he caught my hand again, his voice dropping to a desperate plea. If you know where she is, please just tell me. Can you do that? A hysterical laugh escaped me. It was utterly absurd. Liam, frantic and losing control, looked like a genuinely distraught husband, and I, apparently, looked like the scheming, innocent, feigning mistress. My laughter seemed to startle him. He probably thought I'd completely lost my mind. He released my hand, defeated, and turned to leave. As I watched his retreating back, a final chilling question slipped out. You never intended to divorce Clara, did you? It was all lies. Liam froze, his body rigid. He didn't turn around. Yes, he said flatly. The police never came. I guess Liam didn't want his affair exposed, prioritizing his reputation over his wife and child's safety. The realization of his cold-bloodedness shocked me, yet felt disturbingly consistent. This was, after all, the man who had flawlessly maintained a double life with 2 loving women for 3 years. Liam loved only himself. That much was clear. Worryingly, days passed with no word from Clara. I tried calling and texting her but got no response. My life felt like a chaotic mess, and work became my only refuge. The apartment was too full of memories, a constant reminder that despite everything, I hadn't fully let go of Liam. During a break, I overheard colleagues in the break room discussing a news story about a pregnant woman who had jumped into the river. The previous night, they couldn't save her. Said she found out her husband was cheating. So tragic, 2 lives lost just like that. They recovered the body this morning. Her family was there, absolutely devastated. My hand jerked, spilling hot water all over myself. A colleague rushed over. Are you burned? Be careful. Ignoring the stinging pain, I grabbed her arm. What was the woman's name? My colleague looked startled. They didn't say in the news report. Just that it was very sad. She was over 7 months pregnant. 7 months? Clara was maybe 5 months along at most. It wasn't her. A wave of relief washed over me, so profound I felt weak. I slumped back into my chair at my desk. Liam had deceived me, but Clara was a victim too. If she had done something desperate because of this, I would have indirectly caused her death. Just as I was wrestling with these thoughts, my WeChat notifications started pinging insistently. It was the young man whose car had nearly hit me, Aaron. He'd messaged me several times over the past few days, checking in, but I'd been too overwhelmed to reply. Annoyed, I opened the chat, intending to delete him. But as the chat window opened, I glanced at his WeChat ID. My heart stopped. The ID was a combination of letters and numbers. The numerical part. It was identical to the mystery number that had sent me Liam's wedding photo. I pictured Aaron's face again. A wild, improbable thought surfaced. The day he almost hit me. It wasn't the first time I'd seen him. In Liam and Clara's wedding video, while his colleagues weren't present, many of their old classmates were. Aaron, he was one of them. I pulled up the video, painstakingly scrubbing through it frame by frame. Finally, I found him tucked away in the background of a group shot. The image wasn't perfectly clear, but it was definitely him. He knew Clara. He knew Liam. He was the one who sent the warning. He was the one guiding me towards the truth. Furious, I took a screenshot of the MMS message info and sent it to Aaron via WeChat. Was this you? He must have been watching his phone. The status bar immediately showed typing, but then it stopped. He seemed unsure how to respond. After 3 minutes of silence, my phone rang. It was him. His voice was still polite, almost gentle. Yes, I sent the photo. But I never intended to harm you. Exposing a cheater wasn't harm technically, but it's hard not to resent the messenger who shatters your world, especially when that messenger is a complete stranger who has witnessed your lowest moments. The humiliation was immense. Sending me photos, spying on me nearby, deliberately adding me on WeChat. Are you some kind of creep? I yelled, venting days of frustration and fear. If you wanted to help Clara catch the mistress, you could have just confronted me directly. You obviously figured out where I live. I suspected this whole ordeal was some sick game. Aaron listened calmly to my tirade. When I finally ran out of steam, he spoke quietly. I'm sorry, but my goal truly wasn't to hurt you. His swift apology caught me off guard. I didn't know how to respond. He filled the silence. You're not the other woman, Maya. You and Clara are both victims. Hearing him mention Clara sparked a new thought. Do you know where Clara is? Aaron didn't deny it. He asked cautiously, if I arrange for you to see Clara, can you promise not to tell Liam first? Okay. Just as I was about to message Liam with the news, Aaron's voice came through my earpiece. Had he bugged me? Good. I'll pick you up after work. I deleted the message draft for Liam. If Aaron and Clara were working together, then at least Clara was safe. That was the most important thing. Whatever the emotional fallout, at least no lives were lost. At least I wasn't indirectly responsible for a tragedy. It was the best news I'd had all week. After work, I met Aaron again. He introduced himself properly, Aaron Sue, a longtime classmate of both Clara and Liam. He'd been working in S-City since graduation. He explained. He'd accidentally seen Liam and me on a date sometime earlier, confirming his suspicions about Liam's double life. He hadn't known how to break the news to Clara, or how to warn me. Under Aaron's arrangement, I finally saw Clara again. She looked significantly better. Her spirits lifted. She wore light makeup, her eyes were clear, and she radiated a soft maternal warmth. A stark contrast to the Chow Tsoi haggard woman I'd met outside the hospital. It hit me then. Her disappearance wasn't sudden or desperate. It was a calculated move. A counterattack. Clara, I asked quietly, was this your revenge? Against me, and especially against Liam. Clara actually smiled, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Why would you think that? Of course not. I simply couldn't bear listening to Liam spin any more lies with that same earnest face. If I heard any more, I was afraid I might actually start believing him again. She gently patted her belly. It's terrifyingly easy to believe lies, but I don't want my child born into a world built on deceit. Thankfully, her gaze met mine with understanding. Neither of us believed his nonsense in the end. Shame washed over me. Only I knew how close I had come. How many moments I had believed Liam's lies. Believed he was the victim, that Clara was the one clinging, the source of my pain. If Clara hadn't disappeared, forcing Liam's hand and revealing his true colors so starkly, I might very well have ended up willingly becoming his mistress. Clara's carefully orchestrated vanishing act had shattered my lingering illusions and left Liam with no energy or room to continue his charade. Clara, I said with a wry, bitter smile, you're incredible. I lost. I didn't ask about Clara's future plans. It wasn't my place. Aaron drove me home. As the only real outsider in this tangled mess, he had acted with surprising integrity. I knew plenty of men who would cover for a cheating friend, seeing it as some kind of bonding exercise. Whatever his relationship with Clara, he had helped her immensely and indirectly helped me too. Thinking this, Aaron suddenly seemed much more decent. Thank you, I murmured, barely audible. Aaron heard me. He raised an eyebrow, offering a small, genuine smile. The one who helped you wasn't me. It was you. Corny perhaps, but hearing it right then felt surprisingly good. When I got back to my apartment, I was shocked to find the lights on. The table was set with steaming hot dishes. I froze, wondering if I was hallucinating. Liam emerged from the kitchen carrying a bowl of soup. He even managed to smile, trying to embrace me comfortingly. Let's eat first. I noticed you haven't touched anything in the fridge these past few days. How could he act like nothing had happened? My body went rigid. I fought the overwhelming urge to throw the soup in his face. What do you want? I asked coldly. Liam took my hand. Clara's back. I misunderstood you before. His earnestness seemed real. His apology genuine. I knew his expressions too well. But this wasn't remorse for his actions. It was because he needed something from me. I snatched my hand away. What more do you possibly want? Liam looked at me, his expression almost pleading. Before Clara finds out everything, can you delete all the records, the posts, everything from when we were dating? So he still thought he could salvage things with Clara. I was almost surprised. You love her that much? Liam avoided a direct answer, explaining evasively, Clara's pregnant with a boy. To reassure her, my family gave her everything they could. The apartment we bought is even in her name now. If she gets all the evidence and files for divorce. He trailed off, but the implication was clear. It wasn't love. It was about protecting his precious assets. Liam right now resembled a pathetic guard dog, growling over an empty food bowl, oblivious that the contents were long gone. I suddenly understood Clara's newfound serenity. From the moment we both knew the truth and chose not to immediately reveal everything to Liam, the power dynamic had flipped entirely. He had deceived us, but now, he would live in perpetual fear of losing everything. This revenge, it was orchestrated by both of us women together. You want me to delete everything? A cold smile touched my lips. Kneel and beg. The suggestion surprised even myself. Even more surprising, Liam hesitated only for a second before obediently sinking to his knees before me. Is that enough? What else do you want? He couldn't meet my eyes, but I could meet his, unflinching. Give back every cent I spent on you over the past 3 years. Clara had protected her interests. Why should I suffer a loss? Liam looked utterly mortified. You know my situation. Just give me some time. Precisely because I knew his situation, I wouldn't make it easy. I laughed coldly. Make a payment, I delete an item. The amount you pay determines how much I delete. Seems fair, right? He wanted time. Fine. The endless torment wasn't mine to bear. Liam remained kneeling, finally understanding there was no mercy left. He reluctantly took out his phone and, under my watchful eye, painstakingly transferred the meager balances from various accounts. It was a moderate sum, barely covering my actual financial contributions. But seeing the pain, twisted expression on Liam's face as the money left his possession, immensely satisfying. Put repayment in the transfer notes, I reminded him coolly, preventing any future claims of extortion. As the transfer notification pinged on my phone, confirming the funds received, Liam finally snapped. He scrambled to his feet. Now we're even. Even? He dared speak of being even? I looked him up and down slowly, still smiling. If I remember correctly, I drawled. This outfit you're wearing? I bought this too. That was the most laughable part of Liam's facade. Pretending to be simple and frugal while readily accepting every material thing I provided. The very clothes he wore to confront me were paid for by me. Liam's jaw clenched, his teeth practically grinding. If I do this, you'll really delete everything? I calmly held up my phone, showing him the screen. After the transfer, I had started deleting items as promised. Only one last social media account remained. With a dark scowl, Liam stripped off his shirt and pants. I logged out and deleted the final account, then promptly threw Liam half-naked out of the apartment. He didn't even dare shout curses from the hallway, just clutched his phone pitifully, frantically checking my profiles before finally scurrying away in shame. What Liam didn't know was that during my second meeting with Clara, I had already given her a full backup of all the evidence. His true punishment, longer and far more brutal, was yet to come. I watched Liam's retreating figure through the peephole. In front of me, he had lost every last shred of dignity. And finally, I could separate the disgusting cheater from the idealized image of the perfect lover I once held. They were two different entities. The man I had loved and lived with for 3 years felt like a stranger who had simply borrowed Liam's name. I blocked and deleted all of Liam's contact information. I didn't keep Clara's number either. Determined to escape the memories entirely, I made plans to move out. About a month later, I was doing a final deep clean of the empty apartment. Underneath a table I found the powder compact, lying forlornly on the floor. Picked it up. The incriminating words, warning me of Liam's betrayal, were still visible inside. Suddenly a thought struck me. I sent a message to Aaron. The writing in the powder compact, it wasn't you. And it wasn't Clara, was it? Clara, who had been straightforward enough to call me and meet face to face, wouldn't resort to such a cloak and dagger tactic. And Aaron wouldn't have had the opportunity to place it in the car unnoticed. If it wasn't either of them, the origin of the message remained a mystery. Aaron didn't reply via text. He came to see me in person. There's something I need to show you, he said quietly. I hadn't expected to see him again. If not for the shared trauma involving Liam, we likely would have remained strangers in this vast city. Aaron opened a photo on his phone and showed it to me. I gasped. The picture showed a woman with my face, but she had vibrant pinkish blue hair, heavy makeup, and was leaning happily against Aaron, grinning broadly. Clara is my good friend, Aaron explained softly. I suspected Liam was cheating for a while, but I didn't know how to tell her, or how to warn you without causing more pain. And then you contacted me. He admitted he'd initially found it baffling how I could negotiate with Clara, while simultaneously maintaining a flawless facade with Liam. It wasn't until later that he realized it wasn't superb acting. It was because I had no memory of those initial interactions. The scattered clues finally clicked into place. The writing on the powder compact. I had left it there myself. And Liam's claim that I had met Clara before was true. The person who met Clara initially, the person who contacted Aaron, the person who devised the disappearance plan and guided Aaron on sending the warning messages, the person in that photograph. It wasn't me. Not the Maya I knew. The idea for Clara to disappear was yours too, Aaron confirmed, his voice tinged with awe. You coached me on what messages to send, provided this photo as proof. You orchestrated everything. That's why I said the one who helped you wasn't me. It was you. Aaron seemed genuinely impressed by this other me. The revelation left me reeling. Do you really have no memory of any of this? Aaron asked gently. His earlier concern, his offer to take me to the hospital that day. It had been genuine, directed at a version of me he didn't fully understand. I shook my head slowly. I had no recollection of planning any of it. But the presence, she wasn't entirely unfamiliar. Scarlett first emerged clearly when I was 10. That summer, my high school-aged cousin visited our rural home. When no one was around, he gave me candy, told me to be quiet, and then put his hand down my pants. I ran crying to my grandmother. She slapped me hard across the face. Curse you. Bad luck, just like your mother. My cousin found out I'd told on him. That night he was furious. He crushed the candy he'd promised me underfoot, then grabbed my hair and slammed my head against a cabinet. The fear was paralyzing. I blacked out before I could even scream. When I woke up, my aunt and uncle were crying louder than I was. They said I had stabbed my cousin in the eye with a pair of compasses, blinding him. I knew deep down I hadn't done it, but only he and I were there. And judging by how he wet himself in fear whenever he saw me afterwards, the attacker was indeed me. But the person capable of such bold, violent resistance, that could only have been Scarlett. Lady, the name my parents had intended for my older sister, meant bring a younger brother. I had 5 such sisters who never were aborted because they weren't boys. My own birth was an accident, a hospital mix-up with the ultrasound results, granting me the privilege of being born under the guise of a desired son. Because I was so young, the incident with my cousin never resulted in serious legal consequences, just a hefty compensation payment of 20,000 yuan from my family. Back then, that was a fortune in our small town. My grandmother nearly skinned me alive, threatening to send me to work in a factory to pay it back. That money was meant for my father's remarriage fund. The Su family needed grandsons to carry on the line. I was resigned to my fate. Like most girls in our village, few finished junior high. But Scarlett refused. On my homework paper she left a note. You always have a choice. She was a force of nature, always pushing against the current, determined to carve out a different path. If there were no options, she created them. Through our combined persistence, I eventually escaped our hometown through the college entrance exams. After that, Scarlett retreated, remaining dormant for years. Pulling myself from the flood of memories, I thanked Aaron for revealing this final crucial secret. This whole ordeal from the first warning sign was never about me versus Clara. It was a battle between the timid, easily hurt Maya and the fierce, protective Scarlett within me. The only solace was that, in the end, I hadn't completely succumbed, and the toxic, damaging relationship was finally over. Thunder rumbled outside. I looked up at the stormy sky, lightning briefly illuminating the room, and felt an unexpected sense of clarity. The first rain of spring was coming. A cleansing was beginning.